First thing you want to do is pull the drain plug and let it drain fully. Sometimes I might even wait 10 minutes to allow it to drain all the way. Make sure the truck's up to operating temperature and nice and warm. Don't get burned when you let the plug out. And just let it drain. Alright, so here's a tip that I do every time I change my oil. I open the box up, I take the filter out, I fold everything back in because it's round on the bottom right here. So I flip it over in the box, open up a quart of oil, and I try to get as much oil in it as I can so that the filter doesn't just have to, the motor doesn't have to fill the filter with oil with all the pressure in the engine. It's a little better on your startup after changing the oil and letting it drain real well. So once you get as much of the quart in as you can, I usually try to use the new oil on the O-ring or the gasket or whatever you want to call it for your oil filter, so that way it doesn't stay on there when you go to take the oil filter off later on. It also helps when you're tightening the filter up. Now if you wait long enough, sometimes you can get the whole quart in there or most of the quart in there, but getting something in there is better than nothing at all. That's the way I've always been taught. So that's all you got to do. Keep filling it as much as you want, and then you put it on the truck. I want to take a strap wrench about, I believe this one's a 4-inch. Stick it on the filter and give it a little twist. Now this thing's got an AC Delco filter on it from when we originally changed the oil when we first got this truck, just to get it nice and clean. And the trick is, if you want to, you can try to get a piece of cardboard. We removed the drive shaft so we could see a little better. You can get a piece of cardboard, stick it in there, and get the filter to drain a little nicer so that you don't make such a mess. Just a little trick that I've had for a long time. And just like that, the filter's out. And as you can see, because the box has been holding my other filter up, I was able to lay it down and let the oil drain more into it. So as this is draining, obviously my filter's got enough oil in it and everything. And I'm just going to try to get it up in there without getting anything inside the filter. And a little bit of the new oil is going to drain out, but that's not a big deal. Oops. Grab my rag. then just try to tighten it. As good as you can with a rag on your hand. Some guys like to try to take a piece of sandpaper and tighten it with a piece of sandpaper, but I don't like doing that because then it might take some paint off and it might rust out before you change your oil again, depending on how long you like to go between intervals. So that's that. So I actually clean the magnet off before I put the drain plug in, and I make sure that my rubber washer is in good condition. And if it isn't in good condition, either replace it or replace the whole drain plug, or vice versa. I actually buy these drain plugs in a box of like 25 or something. So throw it in the oil pan. Usually it goes most of the way in by hand if the threads aren't messed up. Now I know I got a long ratchet for breaking them loose, but that's about how tight I usually tighten my drain plugs. I think it's about 15 or 18 foot-pounds. You can look up the spec in the book and torque it if you really need to, but I've done it when I was younger until I got a good feel for it, and then I don't really have any trouble after that. And you want to clean up your mess with some brake clean or whatever, unless you like your oil undercoating. But that's what I do, and that's how I get it to not have a problem for the next 3,000 to 5,000 miles, hopefully. Alright guys, so we can go up top and we can fill our oil. And alright, so now we're going to fill the truck. I want to get a pretty clean funnel for you, so not a dirty funnel. And this is what we're using today in direction of Quad Star tuning, and John Faddis says that it's one of the greater oils right now, so that's what we're going to try out, and supposedly keeps the oil cleaner with the WIX XP filter, which is the filter that we're using today. And using this oil is supposed to keep it as clean as it comes out of the bottle once it goes through the filter a few times, which everybody knows diesels always turn black just about right after the oil change. This truck takes about 8 quarts, so I go about 7.5 or 7 3/4 and check it and put the last quarter in, because you never know, sometimes every little last bit doesn't drain out. But that's what I do, so you can just dump 8 in it if you want, but I like to be precise and dead on the money. So we'll do 8 quarts and fire it up and see where it ends up showing up on the dipstick, since we drained it so well. Alright guys, so this is number 7 going down into the truck right here. Now remember, we used 1 quart to fill the oil filter with oil. So out of that 1 quart, this is how much I got left, right? So I'm going to leave this off to the side to top off after I start the truck. So this much oil, about 3/4 of a quart, is already in that filter, primed and ready to go. So I got 7 in the pan, 3/4 of a quart in the filter, and when I start it up, theoretically it should be almost close to perfect. If not, this is what will go in. Alright, so after you start the truck up and you run it, you want to pull your dipstick and wipe it fairly clean as you can get it, and then re-dip it. And as you can see, I seem to have gotten this right on the nose and didn't put 8 quarts in it. I got about this much left. So this truck didn't take exactly 8 quarts after we ran it and filled the oil filter up and let it kind of do its thing. I usually like to check my oil over the next couple days though, just to make sure that it didn't saturate the filter more or something and suck some oil in, but you want to check your oil most of the time on a daily basis anyways. But as you can see, this truck has got enough oil in it, and you can kind of see that the oil is already starting to separate the darker oil is left in the bearings and everything from the new oil, and that filter is supposed to take the soot out of the oil. So I'll update you on that, make an update video or something to how that did. And that's your 5W40 winter oil change video on your 6.5 diesel.